radio.
I don't think my voice, you know, sometimes I hear my dad's voice in my voice, and he has a higher voice. I don't think my voice, I think over 30, you know, I've been doing this 33 years, that over time I kind of
trained it maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trained it to be lower and less high, less nasal, less throaty, more in my chest and stuff like that. So
which sounds
I think, and
it's almost
you know,
like a singer would learn how to do certain techniques.
And I know when I'm on mic, and I do definitely mold my voice for the mic when I'm on mic. So.
Oh wow! I didn't even know you could do that. That's good to know, I guess.
So I don't know if it's so good. I mean, really, in radio, you really learn that the best thing to do is to try to communicate.
Yeah.
And gee, it seems obvious now, but it's not so obvious when you're starting out and you're terrified and you don't really know if you have anything good to say. It's hard. I bet you maybe have a little bit of that when you first think about doing this show. Is, well, do I have anything to say? You know?
Yeah.
So it's really hard when you're
That's why I'm bringing other people on, because I don't think I have anything to say. So I'm going to have other people say the things for me.
Right. That's actually a very smart thing.
Well, it's not like I have. I mean, I don't have things that. It's not like I have information about teen issues that I could bring to the show necessarily. I just have my own experience.
Yeah.
Which is something, but it's not.
Well, I think in the long run, that's all any of us really offer, whether you're a writer or you're a filmmaker or you're a singer or whatever you do, especially in the arts, is your own unique point of view. Because really, we have to recognize that we're all really kind of the same. We really have the same issues and the same problems, you know, for the most part. But what we have that's different for every single person is that unique place that we stand looking out at the world. And so an artist does two things: looks for the commonality in our experiences, and then looks for that thing that makes their experience and talks about that.
Well, and gives a worldview that, you know, presents their worldview through what they know and through what they've been through. So, no, it's true. It's definitely, it's a good point. What are you trying to present to people by having this studio? What do you want people to have from this?
I decided that that's a really good question, and I don't talk about it a whole lot, but what I really decided my job was going to be in life was, you know, to kind of entertain people, but to teach them, to have them learn about stuff. And when I found technology, I thought, oh, this is great. This is something I love and I understand and I can explain to people. So I want to make my life's work, at least for this 10 years, about translating this gobbledygook that's very difficult for people into something that they can understand. Because I read once in a really good acting book that no actor is any good unless they have a deeply felt, deeply belief, you know, almost a political agenda that they have.
Yeah.
And that's what informs great acting. It's not superficial, how's my hair? It's, I have a mission. I have something to express.
Well, you have to have a reason you're doing it. Otherwise, there's nothing. It's clear that there's not that much beneath it if you don't have that reason.
Yeah. So that's
because you genuinely want to explain to people these tech things that are so new and so hard for a lot of people to understand.
But it comes from a deeply held political belief that this stuff empowers in people to have a voice and to transcend power and to get around, you know, repression.
And so we've seen that with the Iran case. That's exactly what it's proved, that ideology of yours that.
But I've always believed that.
Yeah.
Like 5 years ago, I gave an interview to a movie about hackers. I said, hackers are important. Hackers are going to be the freedom fighters of the 21st century. They're the people who are going to take down the despots. So hackers are not just these, you know, vandalist kids. These are the most important people of our time. And I want everybody, to some extent, to be a hacker. I want them to understand technology well enough to protect themselves, to express themselves, to give themselves opportunities. So I kind of made that my mission. And you know, I'm kind of a subversive. I kind of like to do it subtly. I don't like to hit people over the head with it. So I kind of sneak in my theory is if I can sneak into the halls of power and tell people how to take down the halls of power, then I'm doing a good job.
And by that you mean?
Well, in the early days of broadcast,
like big media, old media.
Had to use old media.
Yeah.
There wasn't another. So I'm using, don't tell anybody, but I'm using old media to bring down old media.
Yeah.
And now you're just now starting to see the transition where I no longer need old media, but for 20 years I had to have old media.
Well, and that's how you, well, that's the thing. It's these politicians, same thing, where they have a thing they want to get rid of a certain politic, and they go through that politic. I mean, it's like, you know, it's the same thing. You have to go through the thing that you're trying to destroy sometimes.
In the 60s, we used to make fun of people who became part of the establishment because they'd always say, well, I want to affect change from within. And we always thought, oh, you're just copying out. You just want to have a nice house.
But to be fair, that's kind of how you do it, and that's how you've done it. That's how you go. Well, now it's new media. It's mostly new media.
You realize that you can have a revolution in the streets, but it's very destructive. Sometimes you have to. I think in Iran, for instance, you're going to have to. But most of the time, you don't have to have the revolution in the streets. If you're patient, you can create a revolution as Gandhi did from within, just because people are ultimately powerful, and ultimately the people are who decides what happens.
Well, gosh, this is very deep moral.
Well, it is, and when you see that's so you started by asking me about how I chose my career and what advice I would give, and that ultimately you need to come from that deep a place if it's going to satisfy you in the long term. You can't come from, well, I just want a nice job and that I can, you know, have a nice car, and because that's not going to satisfy you in the long run, and you're going to get to be an adult and you're going to say I'm stuck.
Yeah, and when you ignore that deep moral calling that you have, you can't be happy with any job you have. That doesn't, you know.
You have to, it has to fulfill your soul.
Yeah,
definitely.
And, so and do you feel that this is
very much
that?
Yeah, I feel very, and that's really why I feel fortunate, is that I get to do something that really fulfills me, and I feel as important. And yet I get to make a good living and have a nice house too. Although you know, the first part's more important than the second part. Yeah. But I think for kids your age, it's really easy to float into something. And I really think it's important for kids your age to understand that your job right now, I think I told you this, is to find out what is your passion. And it's hard because you have so many options and so many choices. And now that's hard for you. So for some kids, it's hard the other way. They don't have many options. They don't have many choices. So, you know, there can be different hardships.
They end up going into the one thing that, and that's something we're going to talk about, hopefully, is but all this pressure and the fact that sometimes people feel really cornered, kids going out of high school feel really cornered into the one thing they can do, and it's really stressful, and it's happening more and more.
I agree.
And, you know.
That's, and so, that's why I would say you really have to have a deep-rooted, kind of obstinate passion for finding out what it is you want to do and doing it, and not let the facts of your life get in the way, at least as little as you can. Now, some people have very, very hard lives, and
that's the other thing. Some people don't have, a lot of people don't in any way have the means to do, and that's something else we'll be talking about, especially with college, because, you know, obviously our college system is based on money, to be frank, so...
well, do remember, though, the lesson of your grandfather, your great-grandfather, Mom's grandfather, Ben, whose mom abandoned him when he was 4 years old. His father made him work in the fields, and when he was 11, Ben ran away.
Took the train to California.
He taught himself everything, got into Stanford, became a maxillofacial surgeon, invented many inventions that are still used by the dental profession today, including the Toffelmeyer, which anybody who's a dentist who's listening will know, and became a great man. Yeah. And it wasn't because he had any opportunities as a kid, quite the opposite. He determined this was his passion and followed it even when he was 11 years old. So that's pretty, it just shows you can do it, you know.
Although